Hi guys, I'm Dave with Transparency Fitness Live, and today we're hanging out with Bob Tome. He is, well, what I would consider an expert when it comes to machines and fitness. So he doesn't do a lot of free weights, pretty much no free weights, and his big thing is machines. And your whole entire gym is just full of different machines that you can use. So why don't you just kind of go into your background, how you got into it. You are actually probably one of the first people I've ever known that predominantly just believes in just doing machines and that you can get everything you need out of that, where you don't need those free weights or dumbbells. And I know you have a few kettlebells, but you don't even use them as often.
No. It's a different perspective. It's not common, but I've been doing this for probably about 10 years now with machine-based exclusively. And it's a way to get people in the gym who maybe wouldn't go into a gym setting, and I find it an effective tool. And I'm not against, by the way, barbells or dumbbells.
Right.
Yeah.
But you predominantly just focus on machines as your main training method.
That is correct. Yeah.
So how did you get into machines? How did you get into fitness? You've been doing this for 30 years now, roughly?
Over 30.
Yeah, over 30 years.
Yeah. When I took my first weight training class in college, I was transformed in the sense of I couldn't believe my skinny body could put muscle on. And
Fair enough.
Yeah, so it was like I speaking of benches, bench press and dumbbells. I did a bench press, and it started out like 135. One time was like a max, and then within about 4 weeks, I got to 210. And people, friends were telling me that, wow, that you look different. And so that physical change gave me a boost in confidence.
Oh my gosh, does it not? Oh
yeah.
my God. Especially at that age, my parents also would have said it was impossible for me to put any type of weight on at that age because I was just high metabolism.
Right.
So that must have felt amazing, especially in college.
It did. And that was the hook. That I had some control over my physical well-being, and that kind of launched me into this, career in the sense of wanting to find out more, and that led eventually to my first job in 1987 at a fitness facility as just a fitness instructor. And
back then there weren't any certifications or anything.
There wasn't.
How did you get a job like that then? I mean, did you go in and you just showed or proved that you kind of had that knowledge base?
I had an athletic background, so sports, were a big part of my life growing up, and so that was I kind of looked the part from that standpoint. And this was a spa club, and it had racquetball courts, Nobody plays racquetball anymore, but racquetball back then in the mid-'80s was really big.
Okay.
And there was equipment, and the first equipment I saw was Nautilus, and I was taught how to use the equipment, and that kind of launched me into this field of really having a passion for machines, I think, because it was fascinating to me and how they worked and how they operated, and then I knew they would give you a result because I saw it firsthand myself personally.
Now, did you have someone that inspired you, I guess, far as when it came to machines, right? That you saw someone, you're like, I really like what they have to say, or like there's something about this person that's kind of convinced me that machines maybe is the way that I want to train myself and my clients.
Arthur Jones is considered the kind of the godfather,
Okay.
And the founder. He created Nautilus, the company, and he was a big part of the design, the initial design. And so I heard about him, but it was a protege of his, an understudy, Ellington Darden, who was writing books, was kind of letting Arthur let him kind of write the Nautilus protocol and how to get the most out of the machines. And I think Ellington Darden, even to this day, has probably written over 40 books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
is it mostly based on fitness and machines? Or
yes.
Okay.
Primarily, and not all of them though. He wrote books on using barbells instead of Nautilus machines, just to show that you could do it with the same philosophy of training could be applied to strength training with barbells and dumbbells. But so Ellington was probably the first person that got me interested in when I was reading his material, and then from there, I started to go back into finding out more about Arthur Jones and his expertise and his way of designing equipment and how revolutionary. I didn't really.
And he was kind of the first that kind of broke into that scene, right? To really push machines.
He was. If everything you see in the gym today, whether it doesn't matter what it is, Life Fitness, Cybex, you name the brand.
Nautilus was the first to do it.
Nautilus was the first, and they came out with a concept called the CAM, which we can get into, talking a little later about. But the cam was designed to give people variable resistance, which had never been done at the time. And we can, again, we can talk about that as we get into the conversation. But that was a game changer, and that's what sold the equipment probably more than anything to bodybuilders. And then eventually the equipment became part of the growth of what I consider the mainstream, where women and men and women now were interested in getting stronger. And he with his equipment, appealed to these different types of groups that were the deconditioned group.
Right. I mean, and he kind of promoted that using a machine, in his opinion, in some ways was actually more beneficial than a dumbbell or a barbell. From the video that you sent me, which I actually found it to be quite interesting, like his concepts. But again, it always goes back to how well can you use the exercise equipment in front of you, and how's your form, which he did talk about being quite important to get that 100% max gain out of a machine.
Yeah, and that's where ultimately the Nautilus protocol, or the principles that were used, and to this day even, he is the father of, I don't know if you knew this, he's the father of HIIT, high intensity training.
Really?
He's the first person who coined that term.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I love me a good HIIT train.
Yeah, so that's where it came from, and that was part of his that he had a thing called the Nautilus Bulletin, Strength Bulletins 1, 2, and 3. They hold up today as far as information that is pertinent. He was way ahead of his time, and so that just fueled my passion for machines. I'm just fascinated by them, and I thought they were effective, easy tools for anybody to get on, and maybe people who were intimidated to go into a gym with barbells and dumbbells and seeing people throw them around. This was an entry, a doorway to walk into getting stronger physically.
Well, and a machine can be modified for anybody. I mean,
exactly.
Literally anybody, because you can go down to such a low weight, and 9 times out of 10, it's actually safer in some ways, especially for certain populations out there, to actually use a machine versus a barbell or a dumbbell, kettlebell, some of the other options out there, because a machine is so safe for them.
It is, yeah, and I think that's what appeals to me even to this day, is and I still enjoy throwing dumbbells around, and there's a certain feel. It's a little different than the machines.
Feel real manly.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing is there are ways to get amazing results from using machines, and if you use them exclusively, or you put them in here and there, that they're designed properly, then and there's not.
Right, yeah. I was talking to you. You were telling me that not all machines are made equal by any means.
No, not at all. And there's even in my gym, I've handpicked these 40 machines. They weren't a part of a circuit.
You guys should see this guy's gym. It is amazing. There's a machine for literally everything in there. Like, there's machines I was like, I don't even know what that does. Like, what is that?
Yeah, that was fun. To kind of show people the differences. As far as equipment is concerned, and but yeah, I just always had a passion for it, and it just stuck with me. I think there was a point in my personal training career, my fitness career, that I kind of veered away from the machines, and I was into everything from with the kettlebells, and I know you mentioned sandbags. You like sandbags?
Oh, I love sandbags.
Yeah.
Sandbags to me is like one of the best functional movement. Like, you want to work on your functional movement, do sandbag.
Yeah.
There's so many different sandbag exercises out there.
Yeah, so I just think it's a part of your own personal growth, is your experience is trying to find your way and your niche and what appeals to you and what you're attracted to. It kind of drives you into an area, and so I went through all that. I went through all the functional training and enjoyed it. Still believe in it works. But in 2009, 2010, one of my clients came to me, and she was working out 3 times a week, which is what I usually train people 2 to 3 times a week. In the past, I did that. And she said, "Have you ever heard of this book called Body by Science?" And I go, "No." And so if you ever see the cover, when you read it, you go, "No, this is too good to be true."
Right.
This is not, this can't be anything that's worth anything. So the book literally sat in my my house unread for probably about 2 or 3 months. But she just kept raving about her husband, who trained 1 time a week for about 20 to 30 minutes. and did one set, and I can go into the kind of the protocol here and the principles of how it works.
Of course.
But
because I'm trying to not work out but once for 20 or 30 minutes. If that works, I'm in.
Yeah. So that's that's just maximizing your time. So, but anyway, so I finally read the book, and it was written by Dr. Doug McGuff. As I was reading it, he was basing everything on science that backed up his recommendations, and this was a spawn off of Arthur Jones's strength bulletins 1, 2, and 3, and so when Arthur was doing that early on, no one was doing studies, and so now the studies had backed up what he was saying all along, and I said, well, I have to try this out. I have to see if this works, and so again, I was training people 2 and 3 times a week, every other day, usually, and I started to see results. I started getting stronger. My muscularity was getting enhanced. I was getting stronger and looking. And
did you see hypertrophy at all, or
yes.
is it mostly just you saw results and being able to go up in weight?
Well, there's two things. There's some people who are going to go. Everybody goes up to strength. There's not anybody that I've trained that does not improve their strength.
Right. If you practice it, you'll improve it.
But as we talked about, there's genetic limitations of how big a person can or cannot get. But I personally saw a growth in muscle size. So I said, this is like revolutionary to me. This is something that I wasn't anticipating.
I think it would still be revolutionary today if you can if someone can increase muscle size and strength for 20 to 30 minutes one time a week.
I know. And you ever heard of the company Mind Valley?
No, I have not.
Okay, they're one of these newer companies that are out there trying to promote everything from the brain getting smarter and you getting smarter and getting the most out of your workouts. Well, they have literally adopted this protocol I'm talking about, which is the Body by Science, the HIIT, the classic HIIT, and they're promoting it right now as we speak. They got a couple of people who are doing infomercials on it, and now the difference is they're promoting machines, they're promoting bands, they're promoting whatever tool,
that they sell, right?
Yeah. No, not that they sell, but dumbbells and barbells and such too. Okay. So it's including everything in the same
So
what
is the protocol? I mean, what is kind of the concept behind the exercise?
Well, so to kind of give an overview, Arthur Jones originally said that he recommended 3 times a week, every other day, 48-hour rest in between your training sessions, 30 minutes to an hour, and it was one set of 10 to 15 exercises. Now, what he found...
So you did how many reps per set?
1. You
did 1 rep each exercise?
No, I'm sorry. His one set, but the repetition ranges depended. He had 8 to 12 for upper body, and 10 to 15 for lower body. And so what he did, what happened was over time as he was testing the protocol, he realized really quickly that people were overtraining. It was too much work. And so they would initially get results, and all of a sudden they would plateau, and then they couldn't, and then they didn't want to train anymore. So to make a long story short, over the course of his life, he said, I suspect people would be getting a better result if they did twice a week. And then further on down, he said, now I'm convinced that if somebody did it properly, which would be 1 set, 10 or less exercises in the session for 20 minutes or less, that if they put all their effort into it, they would get a result, and that's all they would need, and then the rest would be recovery.
Right. And I'm guessing diet also, like you can't
you
can't go eat McDonald's every day and all the different fast foods and still expect to see results for that one time. So like again, it goes back to getting the amount of protein that you need, the right carbs, the right amount of fats, which is honestly, that's where most people fall so short. I mean, I'm not even going to say I don't fall short, because I do sometimes.
Yeah, and that's a great way to bring that up, because I really feel that nutrition is the primary thing. I mean, there was I don't know if you've ever heard of John Perillo. He was a trainer.
Okay.
He was a biochemist, and he trained bodybuilders back in the 80s and 90s, men and women. And he was an amazing guy. And he said that 90% at least of the way his people who competed, 90% it was genetics and their nutrition. that nutrition was everything, and the bodybuilding, the training techniques were just the kind of the frosting on the cake.
I was reading an article by, I can't think of his name, Chris Hemsworth, his trainer, and his trainer pretty much said supplements, all these different types of BCAAs and protein and all that stuff is really mute if you don't actually eat properly first. He says the first thing you need to do is focus on getting the right amount of protein, fats, and carbs in your body, a well-balanced diet, and then you can add in the other stuff, because that's when it becomes most beneficial, is when you're already doing the right stuff food-wise, nutrition-wise, and then that's when that extra nutrition helps, where he's like, I wouldn't even do it if you don't have your nutrition on point.
Yeah, and then even bigger than that, sleep.
Oh my gosh.
Sleep is king.
I had a client that slept like 3 to 4 hours a day, and she had some different issues, and she could never fully get healthy. And I genuinely believe she had a stressful job, and I genuinely believe that 3 to 4 hours a day was just not cutting it for her. She needed more sleep. She needed more recovery time than what she was giving herself.
Yeah. So that's the latest. There's I can't remember the gentleman's name. He's English, and he teaches out in California. I think I don't think it's Cal Berkeley, but I think it's in that area, and he's written books, and he's been interviewed on many different podcasts and different shows, and he thinks of all the things in health that in his opinion, that the sleep is the number one, and then he said then it's nutrition, and then it's exercise. They're all important, they're all pieces of the pie, but that all those things come into focus and make a body healthy and strong. But sleep is king.
For all the people out there listening, yes, you can sleep more now. It's official. It helps.
It's okay.
Sleep more.
It's okay.
But probably not more than 12 hours a day. I feel like 6 to 8's really good for me. I get below 6, I can feel it. I get above 8, I enjoy it.
Yeah. I've never been one to sleep for excessive amount of time. I've always probably 7, 8. A sweet spot.
I do try to get an hour and a half nap in the middle of the day if I have time.
Yeah.
I find that can help me train better at night if I haven't already trained. I think when I first started doing it, it threw my nightly sleep schedule off, and I didn't sleep as well at night. But now my body's adjusted, and I think having that little bit of rest in the middle of the day, if you have time and it is available to you, I think it's not a bad idea whatsoever.
No, I agree with that 100%.
Like not just getting it all at night, because I sometimes will feel more refreshed later on in the day. But there are those people that sleep a little too much and they get up all groggy and out of it.
Oh yeah, and I've done that. We've all been guilty of little excessive sleep occasionally, but
it feels good.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Yeah. So, but yeah. So the this is something that is foreign, I think, to a lot of. I'm surprised it hasn't taken off bigger than it is. The brief, intense. Now, I say that brief and intense is really taken off,
right?
But not in the sense of using really even just machines. That could be anything you plug in there.
Brief and intense and safe.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of. I mean, I love CrossFit, but if you don't have the right form and you don't know you don't have that experience, or you don't have someone properly coaching you, I mean, people get injured. So brief and intense is fantastic, but you have to find it. And I think that's machines. You can hit machines hard. You can hit them like a hit workout.
You can, yeah.
And the chances of serious injury are pretty slim.
They are. And you have to be, and for me, if I'm, coaching and giving somebody cues, I think it was interesting when you came in, there's so much more to it than what people generally think about.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I learned so much in that hour hanging out with you about machines. I've never been anti-machine, but I would say that I side on dumbbells, free weights, right? I like free weights, and that's kind of what I promote. And because I have a small space to train my clients in, free weights are the most effective way for me to help them, because I can't fill this whole entire place up with machines like yours.
Right.
But I definitely have. I definitely am more open to machines. After talking to you, I'm kind of like, oh, I could see the value.
Yeah,
and
they're just tools.
They are, and it's how you use them.
Right.
I prefer my free weights, but I'm kind of interested in trying some more machine stuff based, where it's less free weights, just to see what kind of results I can get from them.
Yeah, I'd love to even. Because I always feel like a person has to experience it, because if we're talking about it, and if somebody has watched somebody in the gym setting, let's say they're at a Planet Fitness, and they're watching somebody train, and it might be very casual. Someone's on a machine, and maybe they're doing more than one set. To take your body to the very end, and what were the Nautilus principles and this body by science and all this high intensity training protocol with the machines is that you would do one exercise. Let's say it was a chest press.
Right.
You would do the chest press until you couldn't move it any further.
So to failure, muscle failure.
Just to muscle failure, momentary muscular failure. Now, could you, if you were an advanced subject, I could do advanced techniques to give you even more out of the exercise. But to take your body to that level, most people will do this. They get in and they'll press, and then they'll do there's a set of 10, and they're done. I'm going to do 3 sets today, so I'll do 3 sets of 10. So one, to me, you're potentially wasting your time because now you're dragging out every exercise longer than it needs to be,
and you're getting 100% out of it, right? So you
now
maybe get
but I've done this before. I've gone to a gym when I worked at one of the local gyms here in town, and I would go up to people and I go, I saw that you did your reps there. How many more could you have done? I don't know, maybe 3, 4, 5. I go, okay. So the muscle, your body doesn't know reps. All your body knows is work. Did you work me in the muscles?
Did you fatigue it?
And then if you did, and then there's going to be a response. You're going to stimulate a response. So you can. That's the goal. Ultimately, the goal when you train in this fashion is, I like to get people in, and I mentioned 30 minutes, but it could be, if you really went at it, it might be 15 minutes. If you put all your effort in. So. And as a trainer, and I know you know this, everybody's different.
They are.
So that's part of the job I love is, there's a protocol, but the protocol can be changed based on the person who I'm working with. And so if I can progress you at what is right for you and what is comfortable for you at your level, then as long as we're doing progressive resistance and we're always trying to either do more time or more repetition, then we're good.
Right, we're making progression, right? We're not going backwards. We're not staying the same. We're moving forwards.
Right.
So you've got 40 different machines. Do you have a favorite machine that you're like, everyone uses this machine? Or maybe something that's not like your common machine, like a chest press or like a leg press or something like that.
Well, the one that's probably the most is the one I think I showed you. Is there's a Nautilus came out in the 80s with a second generation. I should say that Nautilus next generation, which was actually their third generation of machine, and it was a super forearm machine, and it has pronation, supination. That was
that you got that from the Chicago Bears, right?
No, I got them for the Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills, yes. Okay, yes. That was a really interesting machine.
Yeah, and so people love that because grip strength is important.
Oh, extremely.
And it's one of the markers of aging. If they measure your grip strength, and if your strength is declining in your grip, then that's considered a sign of aging, and nobody wants that. So that's one of my unique pieces. I have a sign of aging.
Every day I wake up, I have a sign of aging. I'm a day older. I don't need grip strength to know that.
A few whiskers that are popping out that are not in the same color.
I don't need to test grip strength to know that I'm aging, and it's happening fast.
So that's a unique piece that I know nobody in town has that piece of equipment.
I'm going to get one just so I'll be able to know.
Yeah, and it wasn't cheap, but
I bet not.
Otherwise, I just look for pieces that are functional, that are that have proper strength curves. And so,
what's a strength curve? Can you kind of break that down a little bit?
Like so, when let's say you're doing a flat bench dumbbell press, and you've got let's say you got 45s or 50s or whatever it is, and you're pressing up, you could do the proper biomechanics when you do a movement on that. Right. But what you can't do is you can't change gravity and you can't change the weight in your hands.
Very true.
So what Arthur Jones discovered was the idea of having a strength curve that was proper for the muscles that were being loaded. So if you think about it, if you're pressing forward, if you're in the bottom position, that's your weakest position.
Right.
So, but if you have dumbbells in your hand, there's 45, 50 pounds right there.
Right.
And then when you get to about the midpoint, you're stronger. And so now you're more powerful. And then when you get to the end, you can just hold the weights. You could hold 100 pounds up there on the top end.
Right, where you're not, it's because your whole entire, you got your shoulder helping you, your arms,
Yeah, so in other words, when you're traveling through the plane of motion on any particular movement, in this case, the the chest press. You want it to have the proper strength curve would be, can I adjust my weight? I put 100 pounds on there, let's say. Well, on a cammed, properly designed strength machine, when I start to press, 100 pounds isn't there. It might be 80 pounds. And then all of a sudden, it gets to be 100 pounds. And then as I press further, it gets to be 75 pounds. So it's changing to the range of motion.
Right.
So what happens is, when you're doing a bench press or you're doing a dumbbell press and you're in the bottom position and you're fatiguing, this is your weakest spot, the bottom. And then you can't budge anymore. You're done. But with a proper strength machine, you can keep going because now...
Right. And you're fatiguing your muscle at that heavy weight, and you're able to hit that heavy weight over and over again where it's not as heavy on each end of the curve.
Right.
So therefore, at the top of the curve where it's most beneficial for your body, you're able to do that heavy weight more. In theory, right? That's
the idea? Is that Arthur Jones had I thought the really cool saying. He said, "A properly designed strength machine is a thinking man's barbell."
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of neat,
yeah.
and that explains it a lot to me. So in every machine he designed, every like you're doing an arm curl, that's going to be a different cam. You need to do that machine properly. So every machine had its own cams, which provided the variable resistance. And that helped that.
Right, so it influences the strength curve.
It influences the strength curve is a strength curve. You can't change the strength curve. It's either. So this is where I was talking about machines that are improperly designed.
Okay.
If you have a machine that is not cammed, then it's no better or no worse than a barbell or dumbbell. But if you have or if you have if it is cammed, but it's cammed incorrectly, then you will hit that plateau in the spot where you should be hitting the plateau. So the idea is, I want to get your muscles fatigued to the deepest level. And how do I do that? I have to vary the resistance through the course of movement based on the pattern I'm using. And that's where it gets to be really cool, because you can feel that. I mean, if I'm on my machines, I can go, yeah, it's lighter in the back end. It's starting to pick up. It's hard, really hard now. And now it's starting to taper off. And that's what I think is that nobody really thinks about. They say, oh, it's a machine. It's kind of cool.
Right. Well, they use machines, but they don't think of the philosophy behind the machine, right? Exactly. And understand the concept, which honestly, that guy's right here and sitting in front of you. Like I've always used them, but I've never dove in deeply, which, as I said the other day, you are literally the most knowledgeable person, and I would almost say you kind of geek out on machines. That's kind of that's kind of your thing, right? You really enjoy researching machines and understanding how they work, and then if they're exciting enough, you've got to have it.
Yeah. That's about it. That could be a sickness.
Yeah, right. But then there's worse things. Okay?
Right, exactly. Yeah, so it's fun, and you get. Once you understand the concept and you get the feel of how it's supposed to be on your body, it's hard to go back. Not that I still couldn't get enjoyment out of lifting barbells and dumbbells. I do, but I just feel like these are so effective and they're so targeted to what I'm trying to accomplish. And I can put, what I love is, your mom, your dad could come in.
Right.
So they're appealing to a group that I feel like need attention, and then because they can be less intimidating, then I can pretty much get anybody off the street and say, come on in, I'll show you what this is all about.
Right. Well, I think sometimes free weights is pretty scary to people too, but I think sometimes machines are scary, even with the little diagrams and stuff. They're just like, I don't want people. What it really comes down to is they don't want to be judged by other people,
right?
Whether in the gym, because they don't know how to do something.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Or because they're afraid they don't know how to do something.
That's 100% true. Yeah.
So
everything in the gym can be intimidating, So I shouldn't throw machines under the less intimidating.
But they're to me they're easier because there's usually a diagram. Yeah. They're usually you're waiting on someone else to get off of it, so you've seen how they look, so you at least have a basic concept of how the machine works.
Right. Yeah, and we talked about there's so many things that are involved in training properly, and most people train too fast with the movements. There's they want to be explosive with the movements, and they have in a movement. Again, I'm going to use the chest press. There's this forward press, positive. They call it the positive movement, and then the negative on the return. When people train, you almost always see whether they're doing a leg press, chest press, pull down, doesn't matter. It's always boom, and then it's like drop back. He says like, boom, drop it off. Boom. So when we're training, the emphasis is every part of the movement is important. Okay, so from the very beginning to the very end.
Right.
And then we're not going to ever unload your muscle. So when people train, if they're doing a pull down and they're getting to the top and they lock their elbows out, which is very common, and they come back down, that is a rest. So if you think I'm loading,
the lockout's a rest. Is what you're saying?
That's a cheat.
I try to tell everybody. I try to not. What I'm afraid of is someone tries to go too heavy, they lock out and they injure themselves, especially with free weight. So I like all my clients. We do shoulder press or whatever with dumbbells. To go to almost lock out, but that way you can just drop them. You can just let go and drop them, and you're not like having. I mean, if you go heavy enough and your body's not ready, it can hyperextend an elbow or something.
Oh yeah. So there's a.
But you're not going to get that with probably a machine as easy.
Right, and the thing that I think is really missing when people train. I mean, honestly, if I go into any gym and I went in and started walking around, I could probably correct 95% of the people in the gym for incorrect form.
Oh yeah.
So no one's teaching them how to do things.
Probably stop and help me out too.
So the thing is right. You can get so much out of something if you know how to do.
Properly.
And there's a meditation. I feel like it's a. In the same way with anything everything you're doing with dumbbells and everything, if you can get the mind involved in the movement from start to finish. So if I'm training somebody, I want them to feel that forward movement, that positive movement, and then I want them to feel that negative movement on the return. So there's this concentric and eccentric movement phase. And if I can get you to feel it, and I can make sure that there's never a rest, then it's uncomfortable. But you're going to take your muscles to a deeper level, and I think that's something that is usually missing in people's workouts, and it's a whole new experience, a whole new game, I guess you'd say.
Now, take someone like a bodybuilder. Do you think someone like a bodybuilder could give up free weights and get the same results that they do just doing machines and being able to compete?
A properly designed machine, yes.
Okay.
Because a lot of that is genetic, a lot of that is maybe something else going in.
So I mean, that's how you get over the genetic part. You can skip right past the genetic part.
Exactly. So, but no, really seriously, I think it's cultural. There's been a few bodybuilders who have done almost exclusively machine training.
Because I know someone's out there thinking that. They're like, okay,
yeah.
So maybe this is great for mom and dad and somebody that's not trying to get big but just trying to stay fit. But what if I'm trying to get big or I'm trying to gain muscle? Can I get hypertrophy with the machine?
Well, the thing that's probably missing on some machines would be the load. It's not necessarily the machine itself. It might be that the load isn't heavy enough for that person.
There are some machines that I rope pull down. I can almost max out the rope pull down at like the YMCA. Like I could probably go almost heavier than their largest load. But you can probably get machines at a professional level.
Plate loaded machines would be the answer. And now they're gaining major popularity amongst the bodybuilders.
How do they work? I mean, as far as the curve is the curve, but I mean, as far as how things.
No, the curve is not just the curve.
Huh?
The curve is the curve in the sense of you're right, and the curve is the curve in the sense of there's a proper curve for each movement.
But is the curve different for plate loaded, like far as how smooth it is or how well it works?
Plate loaded. If I could have a gym full of plate loaded machines and I wouldn't kill myself unloading and unloading all day long,
right?
I feel like there's almost no friction on the machine, which is ideal.
Okay, so there are really good plate loaded machines that work just as flawlessly as. The
best design,
Okay.
Yeah, and in some cases better. But however, there are also bad plate loaded machines.
Oh, of course.
And so a properly designed one now doesn't have the cam. Some do now. Some have cams attached to their plate loaded machines. But usually what happens is they design them so that when the weight goes up or down, it takes adding and taking away resistance, just like a cam would do. So it's built into the design of the machine. So
do you have any plate loaded you don't have any, do you?
I don't, but I'm going to be.
Okay.
That's my next.
That means you got to buy some plates. You know that, right?
I know.
As soon as I asked the question, I thought about it. I was like, I didn't see any plates in his gym, so I'm going to go with no on that.
Yeah. No, I have not yet, but that's my goal. I personally, just for my own
Right.
geeking out status, I know there's some really, really nice pieces out there.
So what are good brands for people to look for? Like, say someone's listening to this, they're looking at Facebook Marketplace, like, man, that looks like a great piece of equipment I'd love to have in my gym or at my house, right? What are the brands or some of the
For
major
machines?
brands? That people are going to be wanting to look for.
This is where it gets real tricky.
Okay.
Because there's not any one brand that has them all.
Okay, but there are like certain brands that if you get that brand, you're probably going to get a good piece of equipment.
Well, I feel like the brands that I have are like I have one line of equipment that I feel across the board is pretty dead on for most
Is that
of
that
it.
Italian brand that you were talking about?
No, it's the that brand is Panada, and I really want to get some of their pieces. It's Medex, and I would bet you probably there isn't anybody in town that has Medex. It's Arthur Jones's.
Is that the green? Was it like green and black? Okay, yes, I remember that. You have them when you go into the second room over to the right, right? And they're like a row of them. Okay.
Yeah. So Arthur Jones. So the history of Arthur Jones sold Nautilus back in the day.
Is it still around?
It is.
Okay.
But he sold Nautilus, and then once he sold Nautilus, he came up with his own new company, which was Medex.
Really?
So it's that brand I have now.
So he started completely. They didn't get like a non-compete or something.
They did for a certain amount of years.
And the second he was able to start producing machines,
well,
like
he did because he felt he made a mistake. Who he sold it to the.
He feels like they didn't.
He said he thinks they.
He felt like watching him felt like he felt genuinely caring about the people that bought his equipment and how they used it, and it didn't come across as a sales pitch to make more money for his company.
No.
It came across as a guy that genuinely was like, I've come up with something. I want to help people. If you're willing to listen to me, I will do, try this out.
He's an incredible figure. If anybody ever does research on him, you'll be amazed at his life. He had
he's passed away now.
It's movie worthy. Believe me.
Maybe we'll get to see the movie one day.
Yeah. He's quite a person, but he's one of the they talk about man's man. He's one of these guys. He's off the charts with his life, but. But anyway, the bottom line is he designed something. He did something that no one had ever done before. So he's kind of etched in history. And because of the name Nautilus was because of the shape of the cam. They kind of look like a Nautilus.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So he started a whole new. Is that brand still around? I guess. Are they still producing?
Nautilus is still around? Yeah.
Not Nautilus, but the brand that he started.
Medex.
Medex.
It's on a built to order. There's a company in Germany that bought the rights to his equipment, and they've enhanced and added new pieces to his line.
And
in Germany.
You would still, I guess, stand behind those pieces.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
They're really good.
Because then again, the wrong company buys something and turns it into cheap crap that sells.
There's a lot of that out there. So,
well, think about this: if you can go in and buy a brand that's well respected, that's like at a high price tag, you buy that brand, you switch it out with cheaper parts, you keep that price tag or drop it down just a little bit to make people like, oh, I can have a Nautilus piece of equipment at this brand. Yes, I'll order it, and then you
find out otherwise.
Oh.
Yeah. There's it's truth is like you can go in. I could go into any gym now, and again, as I mentioned, there's no one brand that has the whole line that's really quality. But,
right.
But
I noticed you have multiple different brands in your gym.
And most companies, if you were to get through a circuit and you went through 15 machines, there's probably 2 or 3 that are properly designed that are perfect. That are really, really good, and I would go, I'd buy that. So, but. It takes a little bit of experience to get to that point where you start to notice what you're looking for.
What we need to do is bring my camera guy down, and let's make a little video talking about some of these machines and how they work and stuff. It would be fun. Also, I guess another thing, kind of jumping again, but how important is form? Because I feel like a lot of people had the concept that like it's a machine. Form is important, but it's not like doing a deadlift or a squat or certain free weight things where form is a must. You get your form wrong on a deadlift, you might blow your back out, right?
Yeah.
So where does that level of form really come into play with the machine?
Well, form is everything,
right?
So there's form, so there's proper alignment with the equipment.
Right, your good kinetic chain.
Yeah, and then there's people, let's say on a preacher curl or some kind of bicep machine, and their elbows aren't lined up properly with. There's usually an axis of rotation. If it's too high, far up, or too far down,
so the adjustment of just where you're sitting or laying down is step one, probably of like getting everything adjusted to have proper form.
One is to be aware of all the adjustments, because a lot of people don't realize they go, oh, there's a seat, and I'll get that seat adjusted, but there might be a pad adjustment, there might be two pad adjustments, so those are really important. So getting the proper seat adjustments and all the other adjustments to the machine aligned with your body. You have a woman who comes in who's 5'1", and then we have this gentleman here.
Yes, who's like 7 foot tall, Crush over here.
And
6'8", don't brag too much.
Yeah, so you have to be smart about setting people up. So when people are in a gym setting and they don't have instruction, they just hop on a machine, and so and this is important. So form, setting things properly, and then the form becomes crucial. It's vital for.
So that's kind of, I think, where Arthur Jones was talking about, where he feels like a lot of people said he called it units instead of like percentages, but his machines have 100 units, and most people only use 40 to 50 of the units and aren't fully getting that 100% out of the machine. Like they could be getting more out of it than what they're already getting out of it. He says even though you're getting the 40 or 50 units is great, but you can get more.
Right.
And that comes in, I'm guessing, where you said adjustment, form.
And then there's cadence of movement. There's this selection of proper weight. A lot of times people guys are guilty of it. Maybe put a little too much on there.
Never.
Maybe put a little bit. But then,
when a cute girl walks by you at the gym, you actually can lift harder and heavier. I think that's how that works. That's the law, right? I saw a meme the other day that says, if your bro dies while working out, throw a couple more plates on there, call 911.
That's great.
He's got to go out, deadlifting 500-600 pounds.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're going to die.
You have to, someone's going to take a picture, so you got to have that.
Right.
But no, proper weight.
Okay.
So you got your settings, you got your cadence, the speed of movement. And usually the speed of movement, as mentioned earlier, is way too fast, and there's not a concern with both directions of movement. There's usually a concern with just one direction of the movement, and so if you slow people down and get them to focus on, we talked about it in the studio, is let them know, do you know what you're working right now? Because
if they're not taking the brain and attaching it to the bicep and understanding, I've been feeling my tricep do the work. And I'm like, well, it's because, you need to feel the bicep doing the work.
And then just sitting in the machine doesn't mean you're doing it properly. There's ways to, I call it like wringing out the rag, you're getting more and more out of the movement.
Right.
And so if you can mentally think about what you're doing and then know where to grip harder to get that, talk about that chain, if I'm gripping something harder, all of a sudden my hand grip is involved, my forearms get fired up because I'm gripping harder now versus being passive with something. That'll in turn drive into the arms and into the shoulders. Then if I'm doing a press, it'll get into my pecs. So, there's all this. There's this importance of making the connection to the body and then really wringing out and making sure every repetition is ideal. So mentally, I'm not thinking, I'm doing 10 reps today. No, you're doing that rep right now, and that's what you want.
That's what you need to be focusing on is not the next 9, but the first one, and making sure that
the first one's as important as
so
the last.
Is there a good resource online where people can go? So here's the thing. When I think I need help with form when it comes to deadlift or like any of these free weight stuff, like there's a million different people telling me how, right? I don't think of like where to go or what to look for when it comes to a machine, because again, like I said, I feel like most people just feel like I'm gonna go sit on it, make sure that maybe I'll do the adjustments, but that's it, right? And then I'm gonna lift and we're gonna be good, and I've got great form, not even thinking like there's a lot more to this, right?
Right.
I think that's where the disconnect is that people spend all this time understanding how free weights work and proper form and all that, but then they get on a machine and like all that flies out the door. It's a machine, so therefore I don't really need to have form. I just gonna do my chest press and make sure my feet touch the ground, and we're good to go.
Yeah. There's. I think you have to get. I think a person would need to get proper instruction in person. I know now the technology is out there where you might be able to get somebody online to walk you
Right.
through, and that would probably be the second best thing if you can get somebody who's really skilled.
I'm seeing a new business in your future
I
here.
know, I'm
Like,
scaling.
A camera, a computer. Let's talk machines. Let's teach you how to use them.
Yeah.
$9.99 a month.
Right. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
But I don't feel like there is. Like
There's not.
When I think there's a kettlebell guy, there's these different free weight guys like Athlean Lex and people that I like to follow and learn from. But I can't think like you're the machine guy for me.
well, I mean, and that's the thing is, which is interesting is, I think it's needed
For sure.
And I don't.
You've
think,
definitely convinced me.
Yeah. I think and that's where I think it's. The only problem is that depending on what gym you go to, I might be showing you brand X and you have only brand B. So I have to. I would have to be really.
There's a lot of different options out there. So how many gyms do you think put really good equipment in versus like really crappy equipment?
I think most do crap.
Really?
Yeah, I think aesthetically, like my equipment, it's used, but it's a high level of.
Right. It doesn't awe you when you walk in. You're like, oh, look at all this pretty equipment.
Yeah.
But it does the job correctly, which is at the end of the day is all that matters, right?
It's really all that matters, and that's what I found is it's all that matters to the client. They don't care.
Oh, they don't. Yeah.
But if I'm selling memberships, and all the towers are perfectly aligned, and the pads are really cool color,
Right.
and the shields are matching, or they're and that draws my attention. And I'm gonna throw out the Planet Fitness. They have their color scheme. So when you walk in there, you just notice, oh, they got equipment, but you don't really, it doesn't resonate necessarily that equipment's good. You might just assume all machines are machines and they're all the same.
I thought they were until I met you. Till you and I talked like 3 days ago. I literally thought like machine's a machine.
Yeah.
A chest press is a chest press.
Yeah, and that's where for me it's really it's a lot of fun, and I love going into gyms and just I'll walk through. I'll walk through every piece of equipment and I could give you a rating after using it in 2 seconds
and understand
and tell you where the limitations are. I could look at it and tell you where the limitations are immediately. So that's just the experience. That's all it is. And again, it's just a tool, and it's a tool that to this point I really like and
well, I can definitely tell there's 40 reasons when I walked into your gym.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So but it is, it is what it is. And I guess the bottom line is, for both of us, when we're working with people, we want them to have a safe experience, and we want them to get results.
Right.
And they
want results too.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. So that's what I'm saying. And so, I mean, that's, and they'll come back to you, and they, and they know that you have their best interest at heart.
Right.
So.
No, that's the idea. I mean, I do want to make money doing this. Like, I got to pay my bills.
Right.
But I hope that money never becomes the main factor for me personal training and helping people, right?
Right.
The concept of the thought when I got into it was, here's something I enjoy doing, here's something that can pay me money, and here's something that I get to give back in a way. I get to help people, and it's very gratifying, especially 2 or 3 months down the line, and you kind of go back to goals and resetting things, and you talk about where you were at 3 months ago and where you're at now, and the client's just like, wow, like I didn't even know this was possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just show up, you do your job. It's very possible, and it feels amazing.
Yeah, and that's what I love, because for me that's what I hope to accomplish when I begin working with somebody, is that they're gonna feel a difference, notice a difference, see a difference, and when they tell me their experiences of how they know they've gotten stronger and how these things now are easier for me to do. That's music to my ears,
right?
And that makes it all, to feel like you have a small contribution to maybe a better functional life,
right?
And
I know that's really big for you. Is a lot of your clients, they don't need as much strength as it seems like functionality. Like they have strength is important, of course, but it sounds like they need every day being able to be mobile and functional in their everyday life. And how can you help them with that?
Right. And again, this is just one tool, because if you get the muscles stronger, that's the first step.
Right.
That's the first step. There's a lot of different things that you can do to follow up over time with somebody, but that's got to be, to me, starting at ground zero. That makes the big difference initially.
What about flexibility with machines? So that's something that I've never I never even thought of till I listened to that video with Mr. Arthur Jones, and he talked about how over time the machines can actually increase flexibility too. Because I guess in some machines you can really hit in range of motion with some of your body parts.
Yeah, he's always said, like, he's always promoted full range of motion. So I think in that video he talked about it, it's built into the machine,
right?
Your flexibility. So, a lot of times we think of flexibility as doing some kind of static hold, where we're reaching and touching
when you
our
think
toes.
yoga, right?
Yeah, and those are all good, and those things work. But ultimately, we're a moving machine. We're a skeleton with muscles that make the skeleton move. So, like if you're doing a bicep, you're able to extend all the way out and all the way back in. That's a part of flexibility. It's part of the movement apparatus. So it's all important, and you do feel more flexible when you train the body as a total unit. So that's another thing which I haven't mentioned, is he always recommended total body workout, never splitting the routine up.
Yeah, I'm a big split routine guy. I do a 5-day split, and then the 6th day I do a cardio strength kind of thing. So if I have a good week, I make it 6 days. If I don't, well, get as many as I can to get in. But I've never really done a full body work. I've done full body workouts, but I've never done that as primarily like my 12-week. So every 12 weeks, starting I think late last year, I've changed my workout routine. So I did a hypertrophy routine. I've done. I did a high rep, lower weight routine. I'm technically done with my strength routine, like around 8 reps, 4 sets, 4 different exercises, 4 different times, 8 times. And that's been my favorite because I have gone up in strength like crazy for me. I've set so many PRs in the last 12 weeks. And I haven't pulled away from it. That's still what I'm doing because I'm just having so much fun doing it because I haven't hit a plateau yet.
Right.
But something like a full body now you're making me think, should I build a program for myself, even if it's a 5-day split or something, and just do machines for 12 weeks just to see?
I would never do everyday training.
Really, with machines? So you really believe that?
Well, because think about it. When you're training, what are you doing? You're breaking the body down. You're not, sometimes people will think, oh, I'm training my muscles, so I'm going to get big right now. No, you're basically challenging the system. You're stressing your nervous system to facilitate change.
So you think 6 days a week is not giving my body probably enough rest, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it depends on a lot of factors.
Right.
It depends on your sleep. It depends on the recovery. How long are your workouts?
So my workouts are anywhere from 30 to hour 10.
Yeah.
I shoot for 5 days a week, 30 to 40 minutes in the sauna. Okay. So I do my sauna here. I go over to the YMCA. And then like I said, I do a 5-day split, and then it's usually 5 exercises with 4 to 5 exercises, 4 sets, 8 reps each. And then I also throw in a functional movement. So I have to do either 75 burpees, 50 pull-ups, or no, 75 pull-ups, I think, or 150 push-ups by the end of the workout. So that gets worked in, and it's all superset. So right now, everything's the first exercise, let's say chest press, primary mover, I focus as hard as I can on that. For that, I go as heavy as I can, but the next 4 exercises after that, superset with those functional movements thrown in.
Okay.
And then I shoot for anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of sleep. A good day, actually, I probably get 9 hours sleep. I'll get 8 hours at night, and I'll take my hour nap in the afternoon.
Yeah, how old are you?
35.
Okay. Yeah. So, this is where, this is not a bad or good thing necessarily, but the difference is most people wouldn't keep up with that schedule. They wouldn't do 6 days a week and an hour 10.
But it's my job, and I literally, when I track my time, I track working out in the gym as work for myself because
and you enjoy it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so that's a key.
Well, not every day. Some days I don't love it. I'm just like, I don't want to be here. I want to be anywhere but here today.
Yeah. So I guess what I would challenge you on is, if you did less, would you think you would with what you'd see, would you not have as much result? Like if I said to you, well, what if you just did all that, but you only did that 3 times a week instead of 6 days a week?
So my problem would be, I feel like I'm constantly cheating myself because I should be working out more.
That's getting back to the idea that the stimulation is the thing. It's the stimulation is the stimulation to facilitate the change. So you have to. There's no 2 ways around. You have to recover to make change.
Right.
But you have part of the benefit for you is that you're young, and so you know, and it works. But at what cost in long term? And I'm just throwing it out there.
Right, of course.
Is you don't want to overtax your joints to where you look good, but 10, 15, 20 years from now, man, I got some arthritis like you wouldn't believe.
Right.
You know, so I look at it as I want less is more.
Okay.
I want less.
So you want to be able to work out as little as possible to get the most impact in that time frame, whatever that is.
Right.
If it's 5 days,
the
if it's
minimal,
1 day.
the minimal effective dose.
Right.
Like, what is that? Where's the line? Like, you know, so you look at it from your workout and say, well, what is the cutoff point for me? Is it, did I need to do another set of burpees to make me better? You know, maybe, but maybe not. You know, so and so the idea is that you're challenging yourself
Right.
to see what your body needs, and so and what you feel comfortable doing. Like, you know, you're enjoying it, so that's great. And you know, when I was younger, I was doing a lot of, you know,
Right.
I was doing more volume, and as I gotten older, and my time is such that I want to do other things, I've cut off my, you know, the workouts and brought
Right.
them down to be able to do some more things. So, you know, it's all relative. It's all relative. You know, I'm a big believer if it's safe and it's effective and you like it,
Right.
then it's all good. But
I'm also a big believer of not letting my ego and my pride get in the way and like be open-minded to to me, what you're saying, right? It would be such a big change for the way I have been training for years, right?
Yeah.
Is to completely change to a full body and less days, but still potentially have the same, if not better, results.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, and that's what I'm getting at is until you do it, until you try it, it's a leap of faith.
Yeah,
because
that's why you've got me interested in here because I'm a big believer like you are. Like I love being able to like tell people why something doesn't or doesn't work because I've experienced it. Right. So like I have a client that really wanted to work on hypertrophy, and I'd done my hypertrophy training for 12 weeks, and I will say for 12 weeks doing 4 sets at 12 reps, 5 or 6 exercises, I gained strength, but I also saw a change in I physically grew, right? So I knew that concept worked, which is, you know, that's a basic concept that's been around forever. But it made me more confident in having my client do it because I'm like, I've done this. I've seen the results. So if he does if he can keep up at 80 or 90% of what I was at, then he'll also see those results.
Not necessarily,
right?
That's where I think that's where you have to kind of look at it from. This is working for me,
Right.
But his body or her body is different than my body.
Well, and he's built about the same way as me.
Yeah.
So we are probably about the same weight, same amount of muscle mass. I'm a little bit stronger than him, but far as he's 28 and he's ex-college swimmer, so great shape. So it's there, and in that case, it did work.
Yeah.
Like he did see those results over those 12 weeks. But again, like I guess what you're saying, it's different. Yeah, if I had some female trying to do it that was 10 years younger or 10 years older than me, you might get a different result.
Everybody's different. Yeah, and that's the thing is I think that's what I always, you know, and even when I'm training people myself, I'm always looking at it from, you know, in the communication, like, what have you noticed? What is, you know, is there anything we kind of scan the body? What's going on with your body? Anything I need to be aware of? And I know where to push somebody over time, and I know where to back off on somebody over time, not to make it easier, but to make it, I think, to give them just enough to keep them consistent.
So does every client get a new program then, or a different program?
Oh,
much?
yeah.
Do you enjoy program design? That's probably my favorite part of personal training outside of helping people, but like straight up the work part.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite work part. It's like talking to somebody about goals, doing a couple works out with them just to like test them and see where they're at, and then sitting down and building something that will challenge them and give them results.
Yeah. So I love that too. I'm a big fan of trying to get into that.
What's up, Keenan?
Crush has brought some hot toddies.
Oh yeah. Hot toddies. Sounds good to me.
Me too.
I don't actually know what's in hot toddies.
Basically, it is hot water, bourbon, and lemon juice. but
Hot water,
also add
bourbon,
a
and
little
lemon
bit of
juice.
bitters, a little bit of granulated sugar, and if you want any sweeter, I brought out honey.
Oh
Okay,
wow!
thank you.
Fantastic. You just throw it on the table.
This right here.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I'm not going to say
Yeah.
no to some bourbon, lemon juice, and honey.
Oh.
So careful.
See, we know how to party up on this podcast.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you got some cloves in there. Okay. I feel like it's gonna be so hot it's gonna burn my mouth.
Yeah, it's gonna be hot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to let that cool down for a minute. Not bad though.
I-
See,
I've been getting into the bourbon lately, so this is good.
what's your well, we can switch subject to a bourbon for a second. I mean,
yeah.
we do everything on this podcast, but usually we predominantly stay in fitness.
Yeah.
But do you have a favorite bourbon?
Well, I'm getting kind of into. I have friends who are way into bourbon.
Okay.
and I'm totally
everyone
novice.
has a friend that's obsessed with bourbon, right?
And if anything, I'm probably have been more into the craft beer scene.
It's so fatty though.
Yeah. Well,
Like beer bloats me, and I do not like the way I look the
Yeah.
next day.
Yeah.
I can literally gain 5 or 6 pounds. I mean, it's gone 2 days later
You're
from
right,
the water weight, but
yeah, and I'm noticing. Every alcohol has a certain kind of buzz to it.
Right.
That you either like or don't like, and I like the initial buzz from
tequila buzz is the real buzz.
Yeah, see, and I've always liked tequila, but I've never gotten into tequila. So
People do crazy things on tequila. I think it's the only liquor that's an upper, not a downer. I believe because of the guave that they put in it. I think
is
it's
that right?
guave, right?
yeah,
It's an upper instead of a downer.
yeah, because a beer.
Hey, look that up, Keenan. Yeah, we'll let Keenan give us some facts from the internet. Yeah, beer's great, but I also have stomach issues, and beer can really upset
Oh,
it.
that's me too. That's why I really started to switch.
Yes.
and bourbon seems to be much better for me, and I like a good wine here and there, but
Wine's my ultimate favorite.
Yeah.
If I got to pick an alcohol that I could drink for the rest of my life,
that would
excuse me, that'd
That'd
be
probably,
wine.
yeah, that'd probably be me too. Have you ever heard the what's it called? Is it Good Farm? Is it Dry Farms wine?
No.
They, like a lot of these health people like Dave Asprey, Bulletproof guy, and Mark Sisson, the Primal Blueprint guy, and many others. They, I initially saw that on their, I saw that it was advertised that they were promoting it. And it's basically the company itself, I guess in the U.S., you can have like something crazy like 80 chemicals in your wine and it's still okay. And in Europe, it's like 8 or 9 chemicals.
And so what is this? If I can keep from coughing here.
Yeah. That toddy.
Yeah, right? It's got me. And I've been dealing with some kind of, as soon as the weather changed here,
Yeah.
it gave me a cough, and it's been annoying.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah.
Because, everyone thinks, if
I
you
know.
cough,
You're COVID.
you got COVID, and you're trying to kill me, and how dare you.
I know,
For you
I
guys
know.
out there, for your information, I am vaccinated, I am boosted, I am doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing here.
Right. You're good.
Of course, there's some people out there like, you're not supposed to be doing any of those things. In my opinion, no. So, but stuff like being vaccinated makes my clients feel more comfortable. I mean, I have clients that wouldn't even work with me if I wasn't vaccinated.
Oh, yeah.
Or to have to wear a mask. And I'd much rather be vaccinated and not wear a mask
Right.
than non-vaccinated and have to
Right.
wear a mask.
Yeah. So, but the what were we talking about? Dry farms.
Yeah, dry farms.
And so, what's really cool is they have they only pick wines out that are lower in sugar, a slightly bit lower in alcohol, and have almost no chemical additives into the wine, and then some of the other processes of that.
Do you like the taste of the wine?
Oh, it's all from Europe. I mean, they send to you. They will.
Oh, so you can't go
pick.
buy it at the store.
No,
You actually have to order
They
this.
send it to you, so you pick if you want white or
Okay.
red, and you can or a combination, and then they'll ship to you. Cancel any time, and it's one of those where you can drink a whole bottle and go, "Did I drink last night?" Because you don't even remember because it's like so smooth.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Because I will admit that I will not drink if I'm doing any kind of legitimate workout the night, especially if I'm doing kind of HIIT workout.
Yeah.
No alcohol the night before.
Yeah.
And even especially if I'm working if I'm going to work out before noon the next day, I'll have a glass, but I will not have any kind of buzz because it really affects your strength.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Like you could do the same exercises with the proper amount of rest in between each, and one with alcohol and being somewhat hungover, and one without, and it's astronomically different.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I met a guy in the gym once that he hit a PR, and it was the next week, and he had gone out drinking with his buddies. He told me, and he got really drunk, and he was trying to hit a PR again that day, and he couldn't even. He was down, like he was 30% from his PR.
Oh, wow.
He was down, and he could. And this guy's, he didn't understand why, and he's like, it has to be alcohol. And I'd keep bumping into him for months after that. And he just stopped drinking after that. That was the last day he ever drank. And I don't know if he's ever gone back to drinking, but at the time, the last time I talked to him, which was like 6 months after that happened, he hadn't touched a drop of alcohol. He was so mad that it messed with his PR. He's like, this gym stuff's way more important than this alcohol stuff for me.
That was it.
So, but he's probably off smoking pot or something. He's like, I just need to find something that kills the pain and I can push heavier, right? You've got to do the weighted curve from a stoner's point of view, and it's a whole nother weighted curve there. So, but yeah, well, this has been a blast.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to have you on again because
great, wonderful. Well, we talked about
we have a whole nother podcast. So something else that Bob's really into is static training, and this is. Well, you've known about it for a while.
Oh, yeah, it's been around for a long time.
You've recently started to try to, I guess, kind of dive into it deeper. You've got a couple clients that have had really good success with it. And anyways, Bob was telling me about it. It sounds amazing. It sounds crazy to me, though.
Well, the funny thing is, we both know him, Chris from Coffee Times.
For Coffee Times. Yeah, of course. And that's really the client I was talking about.
Right, yeah. And he it is startling in a good way, the effect it has had on his strength.
Yeah.
The guy is turned into a monster. I mean, he just, he works hard. So, some of the key, back to the key principles.
Yeah, I mean, he works harder at the coffee place, from what I can tell.
Yeah. And so, but he is just taken off with it, and it's got me real excited and intrigued.
He's excited. I mean, he's the reason we're talking right now. Every time I'd come in, we always somehow got onto personal training stuff, and he just man, my trainer, he just left. You missed him. You got to meet my trainer. And then he's like, I'm doing the static stuff, and he's like, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go look this up. You know, and I did a little research on the static training. I mean, I've heard about it. We talked about it in school, but I never really thought of it as a form of a full workout, right?
Right.
And it really has some good concepts. So it's a whole nother I feel like we could spend an hour, 2 hours just talking about your experience with static. There's a machine you were telling me about that's all based around doing static movements that you're definitely going to buy because $15,000 is nothing to you, right?
It's just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. You're going to have 41.
Maybe I might get a couple of them.
You'll have 41 machines in no time. But I really want to have you back in, hopefully in the next couple months, and I want to talk about the static training. I bet by even then you'll have a little bit more experience. Maybe we can talk Chris into sitting in on a part of it.
Oh, he would love that. Yeah.
I would love to hear his view of how as a client, right?
Right.
How it's coming across. Hanging out with his trainer right next to him.
Yeah.
So you can give him the look don't tell him about that. No, you didn't. That never happened. Don't zip it.
A naff. No, this has been great. I really appreciate the time, David.
So, any last minute advice, shout outs, anything, anything about your business that you want to put out there, if there's things that people could be looking up, or just in general, what would be some good advice you could give some people in general?
Just in general, I mean, and this would apply to any workout, but, as we've been speaking here of, high intensity training, HIIT, Body by Science, super slow training. I didn't mention that, but super slow training.
Right.
There's the bottom line is when you train, you want to train safely, you want to train effectively, and this is one way to do it in a brief amount of time. I put a lot of effort into it. Take 20, 30 minutes. Can you do that one time a week?
Right.
Maybe twice a week. It makes a big difference. And if anybody ever needed instruction on how to do that, I'd be more than happy to do that.
I've got some ideas for Bob. So as soon as this podcast is over with, I'm going to be brainstorming some few ideas. So you guys might see some, if I can convince them, you might guys see some content that we might team up on and do some cool stuff for you guys.
Yeah, I'm all open for that.
So, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
thanks for being
you
here,
for having
being
me.
part of the podcast. It's been a blast. We're definitely having you back.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, you guys have a wonderful night. Thanks or day or whatever.
I will say it's Simply Strong Studio.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, let me cut him off before he gets to promote his business. Nope, I'm done talking. You had your chance. No. Simply Strong Studio, guys. Website, simplystrongstudio.com. .com. And
I always tell people just to give them, because we talk about all this, and it can be foreign to somebody, the first time hearing it, and I get that. And what I tell people is, if you come in There's no obligation to be a client. I do the first workout free, and I'll
what I'm doing next week.
explain all the principles, and I'll tell you why it works, and we'll see if it matches, what you're looking for, and from there, if you like it, we stay on, and if you don't, that's all right too.
Awesome. Well, and you guys should also get on Bob to put on Simply Strong Studios on Instagram. There's nothing there. It's blank. This guy needs to be showing off this awesome facility of his.
I appreciate that.
We're going to come over and get some pictures of it for him and be post that on your Instagram. Let people know what you're all about. I mean, literally, your whole facility is literally machines. There's nothing else. I walked in, there's no row machines, no assault bikes, no
not
cardio.
Yet.
Right? No cardio to things.
Yeah.
There was 3 kettlebells, I think.
Yeah.
And outside of the 3 kettlebells, it was all machines.
It's all machines.
So, I mean,
that's my niche.
Well, yeah, when we say that this guy geeks out on machines, this is his thing in fitness. This is his special little sector.
Yeah.
This is a little corner.
I love it.
So, as always, guys, though, we'll catch you next time. Thanks for stopping.